I'm Jessica Badalana, staff editor at King Arthur Baking Company.
And I'm David Tamarkin, King Arthur's editorial director.
And this is Things Bakers Know, a new podcast from King Arthur where we explore every corner of the baking world.
Every episode of Things Bakers Know dives deep into a different baked good, its history and lore,
trends, takes, and opinions.
A lot of opinions, and plenty of tips and tricks.
Plus, we'll always leave time to answer your home baking questions.
Along the way, we break bread with the best bakers, historians, and restaurateurs in America, and we always get their expert advice.
So join us at King Arthur as we celebrate the wide world of baking on Things Bakers Know.
Out now wherever you listen. Subscribe now so you won't miss an episode.
Head to kingarthurbaking.com/podcast to learn more. That's kingarthurbaking.com/podcast.
And until then, please, people, remember to follow the recipe.
You're listening to Heritage Radio Network.
Since 2009, HRN podcasts have been exploring the wide world of food, beverage, and agriculture. Learn more at heritageradionetwork.org.
We talk about food, we talk about music, with musical dudes, finger on the pulse, snacky tunes.
Hello and welcome to Snacky Tunes. I'm your host, Darren Bresnitz. Today we are in the Lone Star State as we sit down and chat with Alba Huerta of Julep Houston. We chat about the hospitality she learned through her family's backyard parties as a kid, how she came to mastering the craft of cocktails, and what it was like to win a James Beard Award and pass on everything she's learned through mentoring the local community. It is a fantastic conversation and a lot of fun, and we are booking our flights to Houston as we speak. And then we go back into the archives where we were hanging out at Dangerbird Records studio in Silver Lake, where Samira Winter, whose band Winter, stopped by to play a couple live songs and chat about her college days in Boston. And she played for us some of the music off of her latest release at the time, Infinite Summer. So please sit back, relax, and enjoy Snacky Tunes here on HRN.
You don't know me.
Alba, welcome to Snacky Tunes. Just staring at the bar you're sitting in is so gorgeous, and it makes me want to hop on a flight down to Houston. Welcome to Snacky Tunes.
Thanks for having me.
A lot of times when we talk to people who have made their bones in the kitchen, we get into what was your first bite, who was cooking when you were a kid. I never know if it's appropriate to ask that same question to people who have made their bones behind the bar. But knowing that so much of your work and your cocktails and your focus on flavors are from your upbringing and your Mexican heritage and growing up in Texas, what were the early food memories like? What do you still draw from your childhood?
Yeah, that's always a funny question for people in the bar business, right? I was talking to a friend, and that's like, when I was 8, I wasn't like dreaming about drinks.
Yeah. Yeah.
I was a normal 8-year-old. But I think in the perspective of, even in like the landscape of Houston, I think that's really important in my upbringing. That this is a new immigrant city. And that creates a very delicious place to grow up in. So there were a lot of, being a new immigrant city means that you're still connected to the source, the place where your flavor, where your culture comes from. And so I was in a very fortunate position to be able to experience the diversity of Houston growing up, and feeling really welcome and loved in a Latino community. But I think and this is something that still happens in my life. This happens every Sunday. My parents have a carne asada, and it's I'm 45 in like 2 days.
Oh, happy birthday!
3 days. And thank you so much. Thank you. And I can't remember a Sunday that wasn't like a fun event at my parents' house, right? Like that, it's a steady, constant. Sometimes my aunts, uncles, cousins visit. Sometimes they have friends, but the core family is always there. And in those celebrations, we have really fresh food. We have hearty meats. We have fajitas. There's a lot of grilling happening, but there's definitely an essence of hospitality from my parents. Of course. That's there. And the flavors are amazing. It's always, as somebody brings, it's a little bit of a potluck. So we'll get, we had arepas last weekend. Somebody brought us arepas, which are from Venezuela. So a friend of my parents had Venezuelan arepas, and they were fantastic. And it's like, these are all ingredients that I know, but I've never had them in this composition. So it was a different experience at the same time. And so that's the community, the familial element. It's what I remember the most from my upbringing.
It's so interesting once you get out of your hometown, or let's just say America, and you start to look at how other cultures and countries celebrate, and especially how drinking is tied to that as well. I have to imagine that your upbringing with this type of gathering and hospitality did have some influence as you started to get into bartending and thinking about what serving drinks could be.
Yeah, I think my very first time that I worked in a bar, I was not old enough to drink. So I was 18 years old. You can serve in Texas as long as... Well,
in America, not old enough.
Correct. In America. And so I was still young. I was still old enough to serve.
Sure.
And at that time I wasn't, this was like 1998. So we weren't serving cocktails. We were serving craft beer. There was like an era of craft beer.
Sure. I remember that era.
Bars. Yeah. And we were talking about craft, but not yet into the cocktail sector. But what I loved about those environments was was that people were, enjoying themselves, having a drink after work. They were making friends. They had like a dart league. I mean, it was a very fun time. and also like, I'm like, this is my job. Okay, sure. Like this is a really fun,
Yeah.
really fun job to have, especially as a college student. And so those were the things that drew me to this business before I could make cocktails, which I absolutely love. When I discovered cocktails is when I discovered what kind of bar I wanted to have.
You know, that era, and because we have a similar age, cocktails didn't really come into their own until early aughts. You know, with like Milk and Honey and Sasha and all that coming out of New York. And I know there's other pockets across America. When did you first start learning or even hearing about modern cocktail culture, and how long did it take to trickle from New York or the coast to Texas? And I know you were in Vegas for a little bit, but how did it make its way to you?
I would say not long. I mean, we were, a lot of it had to do with these spirits, like the spirits that are used in a lot of the classic cocktails being readily available and globalized. You know, there's
Sure.
the spirits industry acquired, you know, there was an acquisition of all these things. And all of a sudden there's distribution of maraschino, for example, all over. You could get Campari anywhere. You could get, as long as you could have the tools, as long as you had the products, that's a lot of how the conversation started, right? So somebody would come into the bar and show us maraschino, and we're like, okay, great. So how do we use this, or who's going to drink this? And then the conversation of classic cocktails would start. And I think that was one way. And the other one was that, for the first time, probably at the end of like, I don't know, like 2008, 2009, like right post recession, is when we started to see publications and articles about cocktails. Right, when we started to see there was a focus on mixologists, and all of it created this air of curiosity, not just for the consumer, but for people in the hospitality industry. And I would say it wasn't too long when, after hearing about Milk and Honey, and the cocktail culture was also really strong in Europe.
Oh, yeah.
And as long as we could connect, I mean, there was travel, there was the age of technology, communication. Instagram made things very, very accessible. And people writing blog posts about cocktails, and all of it just kind of snowballed. And I would say maybe within the year is when we started to see the first like classic cocktail bar or cocktail bars in Texas.
I still remember when the New York Times started covering Houston as the next up and coming new hot dining destination city in America. And you were in the scene at that time when it was really starting to explode. Did you have that sense of when it was happening, that it was going to become such a permanent restaurant-driven city? Or did you think that we're in this bubble, it's only going to be for a few years, let's get it while we can?
No, there was definitely a sense of that being a mainstay for us, for sure. There were the people that now own bars and restaurants. We were all working in the same place. We had we were very connected. We had a community of a lot of us who traveled somewhere else, gained knowledge, came back, and decided this is where we wanted to start our businesses. So there were, I had conversations before I opened Julep. And this is like way before, like I would say 4 years before I opened Julep. I was having conversations with two other chefs who were like, what if we buy, or what if we rent this space and you're next to us, and then you're over here, and we were discussing real estate, because we knew who we wanted our neighbors to be. We knew, and those businesses are open now. My business is open. Their businesses are open. so we always had this group of stakeholders in the community that we knew we were doing cool things, and we loved each other. It was great to see.
It's so awesome.
Yeah, it was great. It's still great. It's like Houston's amazing. Houston's still amazing.
Well, you said it's a new immigrant city, but how transient is it? You know, I cut my teeth in the New York restaurant scene. Now I'm in the LA restaurant scene. New York more than LA, people like coming in, coming out, moving the city and leaving. You know, some people come up together, but then disperse to other places. A lot of the people in Houston, like, we're here and we're staying. I
believe so.
Okay.
And probably when it's the most obvious to me is like during the holidays, right? When people come home and I'm like, we triple our business in the end of the year. And I look at other big major cities and they're like, well, we're kind of quiet in December. And I'm like, oh, it's because everybody leaves the big city and they go back to where they came from. Right. And they go back and visit their parents, go back and visit their family. And it feels like, as long as, and I'll tell you one of the reasons why I decided to move to Las Vegas at a very young age was just to experience the industry on a much larger scale. Right. And I was kind of at a crossroads of, is this really going to be what I do for the rest of my life? I was early 20s. I was going to college and I was at that point where I had to make a decision of which way I was going to go. But most importantly, bartending and mixology, that wasn't a career quite yet.
No,
it wasn't a career for another 10 years. And I was like, what am I doing with my life? So I went somewhere where I could see and meet people who did make a career out of hospitality. And by experiencing that, I was like, okay, this is what I want to do. This is truly what I love, but I want to do this in a place that I love. I mean,
no better place to do something you love than your hometown. Let's take a quick break because when we come back, I want to talk about you launching your own bar, Julep, in Houston, and talk about what it took to get it off the ground and the growth and all the accolades that have come over the years. We have a song from the archives here on Snacky Tunes on HRN.
Now I know what you are, and it does me no good, no good. Now I know, now I know, now I know. And it does me no good at all. Clear is the color, the color of hell, of hell. Clear, clear, clear. The bird turns its head and looks at me with one eye as you enter. The bird looks at me.
Welcome back to Snacky Tunes. We are chatting with Alba Huerta, who is sitting inside her gorgeous bar, Julep Houston. And you've gone to Vegas. You've realized this is what you want to do with your life. You're back in Texas. There's a community growing. And the idea starts to formulate for you to have your own spot. And I'm always interested in that time from when I'm going to do this to when the doors open. Mm-hmm. What were those couple of years like?
They were very, I mean, I look back on it now and I'm like, it feels like they flew by, but I remember it took me 2 years to open Julep from the time that the lease was signed.
Wow. Until
the time that it was open. Historic building, a lot of other things happening. At that time, I was working for a restaurant group. So I was the beverage director for a restaurant group, which, and opening other bars and other concepts. So there was a lot going on. And then at the same time, I remember thinking, okay, well, this project has gotten bigger. After the first year, I was like, oh, this plumbing is not good. This isn't good. This isn't. So I was like, okay, let's put it down for a minute. Let's get a little work done because I still have to work. Mm-hmm. And then picking it back up in order to be able to complete it while we're waiting for permits. There's a waiting period that you absolutely can't do anything.
Yeah. You just got to wait.
You just got to wait and you have to have patience. And the funny thing is that is actually the easy part, right? So after being open, we'll be 11 in July.
Congratulations.
Thank you so much. Thank you. And I feel like the easiest part was opening.
Huh. Sure. Yeah.
The easiest part was opening. And
maybe that's why they make you wait so long. They go, you really want to do this? You really want to do this?
They're like, this person, I don't know. They're not stable. They're not making the right decision. Yeah. I mean, it was probably the easiest part of owning a bar was just waiting. And what happened during that time too was the creation of the menus, the creation of drink development, and which was really nice to have a long period of time to develop the very first menu. What does, you're figuring out your uniforms, you're figuring out service, you're figuring out, your ethos. And so that time is, if used wisely, is great to actually get yourself prepared for what's coming when you open the doors, But yeah, opening the doors was the easiest part. Keeping the doors open is the real job. That's the hard part.
When a restaurant opens its doors, and people could argue with this, but every dish has to be original for it to sort of get its own praise, its own success. You can't really just go, hey, we're going to do this classic dish. We're going to call it our own. No problem. Bars do have a little bit of a leniency where you can have a classic martini or a classic 30 or 40 different cocktails, but that doesn't mean that the bar is going to be open or get any notoriety for a long time. How did you find your, let's say, voice and what you want to say with your drinks, taking your heritage, your home, everything you would learn so far, and find that balance? Because let's be honest, some people want to come in and they go, I just want a dirty martini. And you go, well, have you thought about the cherry bounce?
Yeah, that's a fair question. I think the like knowing what the bar represented was something that was very clear in my vision very early on. So the bar is called Julep. It's a Southern regional cocktail bar. Mm-hmm. At the time that I signed the lease, there weren't a lot of, we had a lot of people making cocktails, but we weren't really dedicating bars to, or even programs to our region. Right. Mm-hmm. And that, and also like the bar, like the aesthetics were different. The aesthetics were whitewashed walls. It has a white ceiling, some old fans, some very beautiful lace window treatments. And so it looks like somebody's home. It looks like, what is it now? 11 years ago, the bars had a very industrial look. It very, like kind of the speakeasy look. And so alone just in the way that the bar was being designed and then the inner workings of the program, the cocktail program, it was already different. Mm-hmm. And what that created was having to define what a Southern regional cocktail bar was. And in that definition is where I found my voice. In that definition, like the first menu was defining actually the first three menus were defining what our cocktail program was going to be. And we took, we did this menu. The very first opening menu was the Southern regional cocktail bar menu. We were like, okay, right. What are we doing here? We're putting these ingredients, these thoughts. This is, like we made a number of different juleps. We created the iconic, like we created 2 drinks on that menu that are still on the menu because people don't let us take them off. And one of them is the cherry bounce, and the other one is this bottled and bong cocktail, which is a bottled bourbon Manhattan. And now it doesn't seem like a big deal, but at this time,
I remember it was a big deal. Yeah.
At this time when we were serving it very elegantly. We were doing kind of like bottle service with big ice cubes, and you had your accoutrements for the cocktail, and it comes out of this decanter. And so people were like, "Oh, I love this! We've never done this with cocktails. We see this in wine service. We see this in more elevated dining experience." But bringing that into the bar was so important, and the service model and how we work the service model around our cocktails and explain. And a lot of it was creating stories around our drinks and why did we make this drink and how did it come to be? How did you think about it? And then sharing those stories was really important. But what we wanted was for our community to trust us, come into the bar and trust that we were working really hard to make delicious drinks for you. And although you might have thought, well, I don't recognize any of these drinks. This is an oregano cobbler. That's interesting.
Yeah.
But if you have the oregano cobbler, it's amazing. That drink's amazing. And then you would taste it and you're like, well, okay, I guess these drinks are good. And so it was gaining the trust from our community from those first few menus and showing that experience in a bar setting where they could sit down, unwind, and be given an elevated service that, again, be excited about our next menu, be excited about drinks that they didn't try, because those drinks that they had that night, they really enjoyed. And that's kind of where the secret to our sauce is, right? Like, we want to have so many drinks on the menu that you're going to want to come back and try the other ones. And then the next time you left something on the table, so you want to come back.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And that's always the struggle when I go to cocktail bars such as yours, where I go, okay, I've been thinking about this one and I'm definitely going to try this one. And then if I'm feeling like I don't have early plans tomorrow, I'll get a third one. But then you start going like, how many am I going to have tonight? Am I going to really share maybe a fourth one with someone else? But building that trust is really, to have that runway to do it is really special. And I don't want to say it culminates, because obviously there's life after it, but you hit a major inflection point when you win the James Beard Award.
Yeah.
Sometimes a win's a win. People put caveats over stuff and like, oh, we won the award, but it's not about that. But look, you set out to make a bar that was truly your own. It's inspired by how you grew up. It takes all of your life experiences and trust the community, and you win for it on your own terms. What is that feeling like?
It's unbelievable. And you're right. And a win's a win, especially, when we're young, we get awarded all the time. You're like honor roll, or
sure,
you're like a straight A student, and you won a decathlon, or you get ribbons and awards, and you get trophies, and then you go to college, and that doesn't really happen a lot afterward.
No,
and getting a medal for your work was really overwhelmingly emotional, and also like the greatest part of it was how happy people were for us. Like how, like the amount of DMs that I received from our community.
Amazing.
Where they were like, I felt like I won something. I was like, you did, we
did.
This is we do this for you. And so there was a lot of, I love knowing that. I love knowing that people were so behind us and so happy for us. And I'm like, okay, well, that means that you feel that this bar belongs to you too. And I like that. I like knowing that. I like that we represent something special for you. Yeah.
Yeah. The community did it. Yeah. And that feeling extends to your mentorship of the community. I don't know how you do it, running a business and a bar and the new extension with the parlor, but you find time to give back to the community and mentor people who are coming up. How does that take shape, and why is it important to you? This
can be a very lonely world if you let it be. Like being an owner of a restaurant and bar. There's two parts. I'm a solopreneur, administrative person. You want to talk to the person in marketing, you're looking at him. The person that's getting the licenses, I'm right here. Right. And then there's service, which is the opposite, right? Service, doors open, the room is filled with people, and then it's the complete opposite feeling where like I have so many friends, I have to say hi to so many people, and I want to make sure that I go to the table and say hi, and that's such a crazy world, right? To be in the daytime, like, oh my God, I got to do 100 things. If I could, if I get this done, and then the next day, by my administrator job starts on a Monday, pretty heavy, and then by Friday it's a little bit quieter. But service is the opposite. Service is heavy on the weekends and a little bit less so on the weekdays. And so the mentorship and community are important because there's a very few handful of people out there that can understand that. Mm-hmm. Especially being in a place where, when Houston, where everybody's busy, everybody's, looking to do some other project and moving forward and doing, a million things. And so it's important to have a place and a group of people to connect with. And also, I feel like I have a lot of people that reach out to me and ask me questions about the business, and I'm always really transparent.
Yeah.
And I think transparency is important. I think a lot of us have I had definitely a romanticized version of what this was, and it was, but we're 11. Like, I've gotten older. We've gone through a pandemic. Like,
Mm-hmm.
I didn't see that coming. So it's important to always be connected to others, especially, and even if like I have a few people in my life who are obsessed with drinks. They're obsessed with drinks, and it's like they've dialed up, like they have all these dials that have to do with life, and drinks they dialed up all the way, and everything else they've dialed down. And I'm fascinated to chat with them about cocktails, right?
Sure.
And to have a moment where I'm like, I don't think this is a conversation that we can have with a lot of other people.
Of course, totally. I get it. It's like, and you have a shared language, and also you can share some of your insights and go, I know what you're thinking. I've gone down that road. Let me save you 3 years right here. Right.
Yeah.
Or not, or don't take it and you go down it, and I'll talk to you on the other side of it, and we can see maybe you figured it out better.
Right. And I'm a big believer that, like, maybe there's a more efficient way. And this happens with me and my staff as well, where I'm like, nothing's off the table, right? Like, if we're doing something that can be done better, come and talk to me about it. Like, let's see if there's a better way, if there's a better system. I'm open. I like evolution. I like change. That's needed change. We always address it. But I think that's important, to be able to be open to new things. The job itself can get very monotonous.
Sure.
We open, we make drinks, we close. We open, we make drinks, we close. Then it's after a few years, you have a history of knowing the seasonality of it.
Yeah.
And so like, okay, Christmas is coming. It's going to be crazy. Oh my God, we throw this derby party for 800 people. I need to get my entire month of April is tied up with that. And so having those lifelines and having those friendships is very valuable.
Amazing. Well, Alba, congratulations. If people want to come visit or follow along, see what you're doing, or maybe reach out to you for some advice, where can they go? How can they get in touch? How can they come to the bar?
So we are at 1919 Washington Avenue in Houston, Texas, and I can be easily found on Instagram. It's Alba Huerta Official. And shoot me a DM. I'd be happy to chat and share anything that's useful to someone else.
Amazing. Well, big thank you to Julia for setting this up. We have a song from the archives and then a live performance here on Snacky Tunes on HRN.
Like a liquid machine. This episode is brought to you by Visit Ithaca, where great minds meet the great outdoors. Check them out at visitithaca.com. Ithaca is known for outstanding dining and local cider, wine, and beer. And here's a quick word from one of these great local businesses.
My name is Steve Seelan from South Hill Cider. So I started making cider about 20 years ago, and I made cider exclusively from wild apples for the first 10 years. And then around 2014, I decided to plant some actual cider apples in an orchard to start cider production just like a small winery. We have a tasting room. You can see the orchard, you can see the valley, and we pour tastings of our ciders. We have about 20 different ciders that we make. So there are beautiful hiking trails and gorges and waterfalls all over this area. And in fact, we're located right on the Finger Lakes Trail, where in 15 minutes you can walk down to a 140-foot waterfall that's on a land trust property.
If you're looking for a weekend away, you can't do much better than Ithaca. Check out visitithaca.com for more information and get to where great minds meet the great outdoors.
Hello and welcome to Snacky Tunes. I am one half your host, Darren Bresnitz. We are at the legendary Danger Bird Record Studios in Silver Lake. It's a gorgeous day towards the end of summer, and we have Winter in the house. Welcome to Snacky Tunes, Winter.
Thanks. We're happy to be here.
Samira, you grew up in Brazil?
Yeah, I grew up in Brazil, in Curitiba, in the south of Brazil.
Nice. What were your earliest memories of food and music from growing up in Brazil?
So for music, my dad's American, and he listened to a lot of like punk rock. So people like Dead Kennedys, like the Cramps. But then my mom listened to a lot of Brazilian popular music, which is like Djavan, Caetano Veloso, Gal Costa, Milton Nascimento. And so I grew up with both of those. And then food-wise, at the time, I wasn't vegetarian because now I am vegetarian, but I grew up with a lot of the typical foods, feijoada, rice, beans, plantains. And then in the south of Brazil, where I'm from, there's a lot of European influence. So there's a lot of afternoon coffee and tea pastries, German things. So kind of a mix.
A real mix. Brazil's a little bit more of a melting pot than people would think. How did that affect what you loved about your own personal journey of music and getting into different cultures as you grew up?
I think it really kept me open-minded because there was such a mix of people being into European things, people being into American things, people being into Brazilian things, people being into African influenced things. So I think I just kind of always had an open mind, musically, food-wise. Just kind of the way I walk about this earth is pretty open-minded. I think it was a really good experience.
What took you away from home? What pulled you to the States?
So it was kind of a plan of my dad's, who he's American, to have me go to school in the US. Even though at the time in high school I was kind of like, oh, maybe I should stay here because I really loved living in Brazil. It was a plan to go to college in Boston.
Shout out. That's where I went to school.
Oh, cool. Where'd you go?
I went to BU.
Nice. I went to Emerson.
Ooh, down the street.
Yeah.
Did you ever eat at Anna's Taqueria?
Uh-huh. The best.
The best.
Love it so much.
I dream of it.
So much. You know where I dream of too? A couple places. Did you ever go to Finale, that dessert place?
No, I'm not a big dessert guy.
It's so good.
Did you ever go to El Pelon? It was another Mexican place. It was near Fenway.
No.
There was this really cool old thrift store. I still remember I got these old Pixies 12 inches there.
Uh-huh.
But yeah, it was like record shopping and tacos and burritos.
So good.
Yeah. A little bit of a cultural difference between Brazil and Boston.
It was the biggest shock ever.
At least you got there in the fall. At least you weren't thrown right into winter.
I know. It was the biggest shock, though.
I mean, what is that like growing up in Brazil and then going to Boston's very specific. For anyone who hasn't spent time in Boston, it's a very, very specific city. Much more so than in New York or Los Angeles.
It definitely made me grow up. Really way more serious of a place, very academic. Even just dressing wise, like people's style is it's more conservative. It's all navy, black, stripes. That's it, you know?
They don't let you into Boston without a pair of black pants.
Yeah, you need.
You need a good pair of black pants.
Oh my gosh, yes. Yeah, it was a shock, definitely.
And a good punk scene in Boston, or in some like post-hardcore type of bands.
I mean, the thing about Boston is I think it fluctuates a lot, but for me it was really important because that's where I really discovered like shoegaze and dream pop and kind of like a East Coast indie rock, and a lot of noise and ambient music too, which I think if I would have gone to school anywhere else, I probably would have been influenced in a different way. So it was really crucial for that, and I'll always be so thankful for that experience.
And they have a strong DIY scene, a lot of house shows, a lot of things like that. Did you get in the mix with those?
Yeah, because I was studying journalism. So for my last year, I was doing a documentary on the noise scene in Boston. So I was just going to basement shows, interviewing people. I was just super into that.
Awesome. Let's hear a song. First one's in Portuguese, right?
Yeah.
What is it?
It's called Memória Colorida, which means colorful memory.
Love it. Okay, here we go. We got Winter at Dangerbird Record Studios on Snacky Tunes on heritageradionetwork.org. Oh, man. That took me back to Boston dorm days, 2003. Isn't a good thing? It's a good thing.
That's where it all starts.
Doesn't it?
Boston dorm rooms. Like, literally, that's how everything started.
I mean, I think I'm a little bit older, but definitely tail end of Napster days for me. And, God, I can't remember. There was a website that used to put up full live indie rock concerts. I listened to, like, Ida and the Makeup and just, like, sit in my room and be like, no one gets me.
I loved it because I would get so moody. Like, I would be, like, in the cold, in the rain, listening to super, like, depressing music. Like, and I would just be like, yeah, I'm so moody. And I couldn't go out because it was so much snow. Like,
I know.
You couldn't do anything.
I think my darkest days were Boston winters.
Dude, and I gained so much weight, too. I was eating a bagel, like, every day.
Oh, yeah.
And pizza. It was so good, though. It was so good.
Yeah, for people who don't know, Boston has its own specific type of pizza. Which is very regional, very specific. When did you start getting into making your own music? Was it before you went to college? Was it your dad's musical influence, your mom's musical influence, or was it those moody, dark days of Boston?
Well, winter definitely started in the moody, dark days of Boston.
So aptly named band.
In the winter, yeah. Definitely. Because I couldn't do anything else except just play music. But I started writing like when I was like 12 or so, but I never really like showed it to people. I always talked about music as a hobby. I'd be like, oh no, like not really that serious about it. And then, yeah, I think it was in college really that I played in a band with some friends in a dorm room and all of that, and it was so fun. And so I was like, oh man, maybe I should try to like record some songs that I have. And yeah, that's how it started in college mainly.
And when did it start creeping in as something that you were doing as less as a distraction from the cold as something more full-time, more serious?
Well, it's funny because I had a boyfriend at the time that was like, he kind of had like an intervention with me. He was like, Samira, you need to like start taking yourself more seriously because it's clear that you love music. Like, you just need to give it a try. And so after that, I kind of like woke up and I was like, okay, I need to like actually try to do it and try to have a band and all of that. But I think when I moved to LA, I think the vibe here in LA, everyone is such a hard worker, but in like this very relaxed way, which is sort of the way I work, is like I'm always really working, but it's like a different way of working than in the East Coast where everyone's so stressed out.
Oh, yeah.
Here, everyone's working super hard, but everyone's making it look easy.
Yeah, it's, I don't know. I wrestle with this too because I see people, and because I spent so much time in New York, of just people who would just sit at their desks and be so stressed, but not do the work. And I go, you're stressed because you're bullshitting for 4 hours. Just fucking do your work and go home. And here it's more like do your work and then go hang outside.
Yeah.
And go hit nature.
Yeah.
Did you drive across country?
I flew, but I did a trip that was like my first California trip, which was just like a West Coast trip with my sister when I moved here. But yeah, I mean, I think I honestly wouldn't be where I am right now if it weren't for my bandmates.
Oh, yeah.
And like be able to sound good and take it seriously because like I think it's so you can't really do it by yourself. And so just having people that are available to tour, people that are supporting you who want to make the song sound good, I think that's what really takes it to the next level.
Yeah. How did you meet the three other people standing in this room?
So I met each person separate, like in different ways. I met Justine because I played a show with her old band, Summer Twins.
Oh, that's a good band name. Wait, so was it Winter and Summer Twins on the same
we
bill?
played a lot of shows together, and it was amazing because everyone would just be like, "Oh my God, winter, summer."
I mean, I know you're mocking those people, but
No, it's cool.
did you make T-shirts?
Yeah.
Yeah, we have
that
Winter
tour?
and Summer Twins t-shirts.
Yeah, we did
Ooh.
actually make, did a collab t-shirt.
If you have size for a
We
37-year-old
probably do
dad
have some.
large.
We do. We actually
Couldn't
do.
really get rid of them.
Yeah.
All right.
This bright color.
Oh, you're
They're
speaking my language.
They
I'll
were
take,
cool.
I'll take one off your hands.
I'm going to bring you one.
Okay. What about the two? What about guitar and drums? How'd you guys meet?
So Anders I met through Justine.
No, we met briefly like several years before that.
Across the street, Silver Lake Lounge.
Silver Lake Lounge.
Oh,
Yep.
legendary dive bar.
Yeah, I just remember what he was wearing.
What was
'Cause
it
he
wearing?
wears the coolest clothes. He was
That's
wearing
how
like a
I met
fur
him too.
coat.
It's like his outfit, just like you
Stands
have to
out.
say something because he dresses so cool.
Intentional. Mm-hmm. Nice.
Yeah. It's the outfits speak more than I ever possibly could.
Hey, man, fashion's a beautiful thing.
Fashion is life.
Yeah.
And then I met Ian because we played a show with Final Williams, the band he used to play in like a couple years ago.
So this is always interesting to me because you have two people who were in bands before they joined this one. How does that conversation go?
No, but
Or were you
the thing
Honors,
is,
were you in a band too?
Yeah.
they're all still in other bands.
Oh yeah, it's that vibe.
They're all still in other bands, yeah.
I mean, we'll do off the record of what your favorite band to play in, but we'll say Winter. We'll say Winter on the record. I mean, I found out a lot about the LA scene, that there is a lot of overlap and a lot of people playing in different projects and collaborating and things like that.
I think it works because I think there's different cycles of like creativity and touring, and I think there's cycles of being super busy and then cycles of being at home. And so like being at home, it's like you can play in other projects and have time for all of that.
Awesome. Well, let's hear another song. This next one's about your cat, right?
Yeah.
What's it called?
It's called Zoe.
I assume that's the cat's name.
It is.
Okay. That'd be really funny if it was not her name. Here we go. Winter on Snacky Tunes at Dangerbird Record Studios on heritageradionetwork.org. Amazing.
Thanks.
Does your cat know that song's about her?
I think she knows.
You're like, Zoe, I have something special for you. It's an audio treat. So you have a few albums out, and you just put out your latest EP. When do you decide it's time to put out new music? And can you talk to me a little bit about what was the inspiration? I mean, it feels like dreamy West Coast days in this last EP.
Definitely.
Definitely not that Boston Dark Days.
Definitely not. That EP was kind of like this like summer, really, that I wrote a lot of those songs, except Always Teenager, which was probably like it was just like a really sad moment. But other than that, all those songs were very happy moments inspired by the summer and, living here and having really good memories.
What do you like more, or I guess it's different, about writing happy California, summery music versus those dark Boston tracks?
It's weird because it's like sometimes I want to be writing a certain thing, but I think it really has to do where you're at, like personally. Like I feel like I'm always going through something different and kind of at a different place internally. And so it ends up just reflecting that. Like sometimes I'm like, oh man, I really want to make like this kind of like vibe. But if I'm not experiencing that, then it's hard for me to really feel it, and really make that.
I get that. True songwriting.
Yeah, it's pretty personal. And then sometimes it's just sort of like, I feel like I'm very inspired by music, so it's like the music that I'm into inspires what I write to.
Do you ever pull from those old punk bands from your dad or any of the more classical Brazilian stuff from your mom?
So I haven't really done any of the punk stuff, but for my mom I did a record with my friend all on like cassette tape, and it's pretty much, I don't know if I'll ever do a record like that again, but it's all like very Brazilian and like still pretty dreamy, but kind of more like late 60s kind of inspired music. Yeah, so I did that. It's like Winter and Triptides, and the album is called Estrela Mágica.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
So all you need is a cassette player, right?
Yeah.
Okay. I think I still got one. And you have some live shows coming up, right? You're hitting the road September, later this month?
We're playing at the Bootleg, I believe, on the 21st.
Everyone looks around.
I'm like looking around.
Andy usually knows these things.
Now.
Is there a nod from Andy in there? No? Maybe?
I think it's either the 20th or the 21st.
All right, we'll check the tapes.
And it's with a band from Brazil.
Oh, nice.
Called Bugarins.
Do you make that? I mean, you toured down there, didn't you?
I have.
What's the difference in playing shows in Brazil versus playing in the States?
Oh my God, it's so different. Justine can elaborate.
You will probably get shocked at least like 3 times.
Physically?
Like shocked by the mic.
Oh.
That's the only thing. That's the only thing that was a little bit stressful. Everything else was a ton of fun. Everything starts late. So like they'll say the show starts at 9, but it will start at like midnight.
Oh, man.
So we played once at 5 in the morning.
Yeah.
Because
no, I feel like I've played a couple times at like
you
5.
probably have, but I've only done this once, and I was like falling asleep, just like did it, and it was insane.
I feel like that would drive me nuts as a planner.
Yeah, that's how I am. I'm pretty like specific, like with time.
Yeah, she's a Virgo. She really helps the band just like stay together, like
stay on time. Everything has to be on time.
Just go to the promoter. Hey, so I'm seeing we're 6 hours behind, which is totally fine. But do you have a cot I can nap on?
There's also a lot of making out. People make out right in front of you.
Like right in front of the you'll be playing, and they'll just like be right standing in the front row like me, which is cool. It's like, oh, okay. No
they really get into the music. It's like it's just like woo.
Yeah, a little bit different than the States.
Yeah.
States is like, oh, I think I saw some head nodding in the back. And you're also playing Desert Days, one of California's best music festivals.
Yeah, I mean, I honestly think right now it's like probably one of the best like in the world.
Yeah, I'll say in the world. I mean, I was being fair to the rest of the state in the world, or the country, but
it's like so exciting to be on the same bill as like Stereolab. Like,
yeah, that's so wild. I think they have a clear point of view. I think a lot of festivals now start and they go, all right, we know that we can just pull this touring festival list and we'll just put it in our own backyard. But that one feels very specific.
Yeah, I think it's very experiential, and I'm so excited to play it.
Awesome. All right, well, I want to make sure we have enough time for one more song, but where can people hear the music, follow you on Instagram, look for tour dates, figure out if it's the 21st or the 22nd?
So Daydreaming Winter is the key word. Instagram is Daydreaming Winter, Facebook, Bandcamp, and then on Spotify it's just Winter.
Sweet. Well, thank you, all of you.
Thank you. What a pleasure.
Yeah, this is great. Shout out to Zoe, wherever you are.
Shout out to Zoe and all the cats listening.
All the cats listening. I think at this point we have more cats listening than people, so we're pretty stoked. I want to thank you to Danger Bird Records, Andy, everyone. Thank you so much. Here's Winter one more time on Snacky Tunes, heritageradionetwork.org. We will see you next week. Goodbye.
We talk about food, we talk about music with musical dudes. Finger on the pulse, snacky tunes.
Snacky Tunes is powered by Simplecast. Thanks for listening to Heritage Radio Network, food radio supported by you. Keep in touch at heritageradionetwork.org/subscribe.
I'm Jessica Badalana, staff editor at King Arthur Baking Company.
And I'm David Tamarkin, King Arthur's editorial director.
And this is Things Bakers Know, a new podcast from King Arthur where we explore every corner of the baking world.
Every episode of Things Bakers Know dives deep into a different baked good, its history and lore,
trends, takes, and opinions.
A lot of opinions, and plenty of tips and tricks.
Plus, we'll always leave time to answer your home baking questions.
Along the way, we break bread with the best bakers, historians, and restaurateurs in America, and we always get their expert advice.
So join us at King Arthur as we celebrate the wide world of baking on Things Bakers Know.
Out now wherever you listen. Subscribe now so you won't miss an episode.
Head to kingarthurbaking.com/podcast to learn more. That's kingarthurbaking.com/podcast.
And until then, please, people, remember to follow the recipe.